Picture this. It's been 11 years since Nissan built a genuinely new Navara. 11 years of promises, 3 suspension overhauls on the D23, and one very uncomfortable truth. The last Navara could not ride well and tow 3.5 tons at the same time, not without spending another 40 grand on a Warrior. So here, right now, is what AUD 68,000 buys you in 2026. And I want to be completely straight with you, because what I'm about to show you is not what you think it is. And that's actually a good thing. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will know exactly whether to buy this, wait for the Warrior, or walk into a different dealership entirely. The elephant in the room, the Triton truth. Let me just say it, because every other video dances around it. This is a Mitsubishi Triton, built in the same factory in Thailand, on the same platform, with the same engine, the same 6-speed auto, the same tub, even the same interior layout. But, and here's the part that actually matters, it is not the same truck. Because Nissan Australia did something Mitsubishi didn't. They called in Premcar, the same engineering company in Melbourne that turned the old Navara Warrior into the most drivable dual-cab Utes in Australia. And they said, rip out every single damper on this thing and start again. 550 different shim configurations, Australian-made dampers, internal rebound springs in the front pair, a design borrowed from proper performance cars, not rebadged work, actual engineering. That single decision is why we're here today. And it's the only thing you need to understand to decide if the D27 Navara deserves your money. Exterior, Nissan actually made it look different. Now look at this front end. Because here's where Nissan did the work you can actually see. That 3-slot grille with the interlocking pattern. That's a Japanese design philosophy. It's supposed to read as precision and structure. And in this bolder gray, it genuinely does. The LED headlights wrap and connect in a way that the Tritons simply don't. They're brighter, they're sharper, and they make this truck look like it costs more than it does. Coming around to the side, these 18-inch alloys on the SDX are wrapped in Maxxis Bravo all-terrain tires. Not a budget brand, a real tire. And unlike the Triton GSR, there are no enormous plastic arch flares here fighting for your attention. The result is a truck that looks cleaner, more intentional, more like an expensive Utes than a truck trying to look expensive. Now, at the rear, I have to be honest with you, because there are 2 things back here that will divide opinion. First, the tray. This is the Mitsubishi tub, and that is genuinely excellent news. It's longer, deeper, and, critically, wide enough to slide a standard Euro pouch straight in. The old D23 couldn't do that. Competitors with short trays can't do that. Second, the rear brakes. These are drum brakes. On a $68,000 Utes in 2026. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. It is a cost decision, and it is not ideal. But I will tell you in the driving section exactly how much, or how little, it matters in the real world. Oh, and the old Navara's coil rear springs are gone. You're now on leaf springs. 3 leaves in the SDX and Pro 4X, 4 leaves in the SL and Saint. That means payload is between 964 kilograms and 1,064 kilograms, depending on spec. Enough to clear the FBD threshold for novate leases. Keep that in your back pocket. I want you to forget every Navara you've ever driven. Forget the D23. Forget the early Triton impressions from every other review. Because within the first kilometer of driving this thing, both on tarmac and on corrugated dirt, something is immediately and unmistakably different. The old D23 Navara would bounce. It would skip, loaded or unloaded. It never felt completely planted. 3 suspension overhauls in 18 months. Nissan's engineers knew it. You knew it. Everyone knew it. This truck does not do that. On a rough dirt road, the kind that would have the D23 dancing sideways, the D27 Navara absorbs. It settles. And when the rear does step wide over a sharp bump, those Premcar dampers bring it back into line instantly. Not after 2 or 3 corrections. Immediately, compared to the Mitsubishi Triton, which shares every other component. The difference is dramatic. The Triton heaves. It wallows. The body control is loose in a way that makes it feel under-engineered. The Navara is tight in a way that feels like intent. Now to the engine. And this is where I'll say something that might surprise you. I don't mind that this is a Mitsubishi engine. At all. The 2.4-liter twin-turbo diesel produces 150 kilowatts and 470 newton-meters. That torque peak arrives at 1,500 revolutions per minute and holds all the way to 2,700 revolutions per minute. In practical terms, you pull confidently from almost any speed. You tow 3.5 tons without drama. And on a highway run from Canberra to Sydney, real-world fuel consumption sat at 7.5 liters per 100 kilometers from a 75-liter tank. That's nearly 1,000 kilometers of range. The 6-speed auto picks gears cleanly. It doesn't hunt. It doesn't hold a ratio 2 ratios too long. It just works. Is it exciting? No. Is it refined? Not particularly. The twin-turbo note is vocal at higher revs, and you're always aware it's a diesel. But reliability and torque? It is both. And after years of Nissan running the Renault Source 2.3-liter, that always felt like it was working slightly too hard. This is a genuine step forward. One thing I must tell you about. The Super 4 WD system on the SDX and Pro 4X, with a torsion center differential, is genuinely clever. You get 7 terrain modes: normal, eco, gravel, snow, mud, sand, and rock. In 4-high, the system reads slip between axles and distributes torque proactively, not reactively. That's a meaningful difference when you're on a loose, slippery surface. And the hill descent control? It modulates the brakes, yes, including those rear drums, with enough precision to walk you down a steep off-camber slope without drama. The drums are not the deal breaker. They sound like on paper. Interior, the honest assessment. The interior of the D27 Navara is essentially identical to the Mitsubishi Triton. I want to say that clearly before you drive one and feel surprised. Same dashboard architecture, same controls layout, same screen position, same rear blower system in the headlining instead of proper rear air vents. But here's what that also means. It is a vastly better interior than the D23 Navara. The driving position actually makes sense now. The front seat wraps and supports in a way that makes 1,000-kilometer drives feel manageable. The D23 always set you slightly too high, slightly too upright. A small irritation that added up over a long day. The 9-inch touchscreen is not cutting edge. Compared to a Ford Ranger's SYNC4 or a BYD Shark's infotainment, it feels a generation behind. Wireless Apple CarPlay is standard on SDX and Pro 4X. That's the right call. Wired Android Auto only is disappointing in 2026. The 7-inch TFT instrument display does everything it needs to. It's functional. It's readable. It won't impress anyone who's come from a premium vehicle, but it also won't frustrate anyone who just needs to know speed, range, and terrain mode. Physical air conditioning controls. A real gear selector. A proper 4-wheel drive dial that lives exactly where your hand expects to find it. In an era of buried touchscreen menus, these feel like luxuries. Now the rear seat. I'll be honest, it is not good. Leg room for anyone over 180 centimeters is marginal. Under-thigh support is minimal. The floor-mounted rear seat cannot be folded up, it's bolted down. And that roof-mounted air blower is genuinely noisy and barely adequate on a really hot Australian day. The only Utes with worse rear seat packaging right now are the Toyota Hilux. That is not a high bar. The Kia Tasman, currently the class benchmark for rear seat comfort, makes this look dated. If rear passengers matter to your buying decision, know this going in. What does work as storage? The front center bin, the door pockets, the dual front USB ports, the wireless charging pad on SDX and above, the glove box with a proper lid in SDX spec. For a working vehicle, it is practically laid out, and the tray, damp tailgate, built-in tub liner in SDX and Pro 4X. Deep enough to matter, wide enough for a Euro pallet, lockable. Every single variant of the D27 Navara comes standard with 8 airbags, autonomous emergency braking front and rear, blind spot monitoring, rear cross-traffic alert, lane keeping assistance, adaptive cruise control, driver attention monitoring, trailer sway control, and a 360-degree surround camera with moving object detection. That last item, the 360-degree camera, is genuinely useful. It's better calibrated than the Tritons. Parking a truck this size in a tight space no longer requires three-point reversing guesswork. 2 honest criticisms. The adaptive cruise control brakes too aggressively for vehicles parked well away from the road or in adjacent lanes. On a winding road, it can stab the brakes without warning. You will turn it off. Wait. If you need a truck now, and you need capability, towing, reliability, and a 10-year warranty, the SDX at $63,000 is one of the most compelling dual-cab propositions in Australia today. 11 years between genuinely new Navaras. And the question the whole time has been, was it worth the wait? Here's my honest answer. This is not the truck that leaps ahead of its class. It is not a Ford Ranger. It is not a Kia Tasman in terms of rear seat sophistication. 10-year warranty is real. The tray that fits a Euro pallet is real. The 150,000-kilometer proven engine is real. And the feeling of driving this thing on a corrugated dirt road. No, it's not going to skip and dance and embarrass itself. That feeling is new for a Navara, and it matters more than any spec sheet can explain. Is it perfect? No. The rear seat needs work. The infotainment is a generation behind. The drum brakes will bother some people until they never think about them again. But here's the thing nobody is really saying. That is not a bad deal. That is actually a very good deal. Subscribe if you want the Warrior version the moment it lands, because that